We'll go ahead now, and we're going to start off our briefings with the SGA4, Central Business District Association 10-year macro fiscal impact projections. Mr. Spohr, you want to make the introductions, please?
Well, just very briefly, Mayor, thank you very much. The Cbda has been a partner with the city for a very long time in the Pembroke Town Center area, and I think one of the things that I feel the best about in terms of our success at Town Center and Pembroke is the fact that we've got an organized, committed group to work with the city staff and with the council in terms of making some of these things happen. With that said, Ron Ripley, who's the president of the Cbda, Burl Saunders, who's the Cbda Advisory Committee chair, and Jeannie Evans Cox, who you all know is the executive director, are here today, and to present the results of a project that they undertook on their own to look at some of the fiscal impacts of SGA4, which is the Pembroke area, and so they're here to share their work with us today. So
very good. Ron, we welcome you all.
All right. Thank you all very much for having us, and we'll be brief and hopefully make our point and be out the door. Now, we're not here to complain, which is, I'm sure you have a lot of people complaining, but we're not here about complaining. We're here really to express the opinion of the business community to the leadership, and the idea is to express an opinion of what we do in the next step as far as the strategic growth area is concerned. And as Jim said, you have a strategic growth area that the city has really invested very well in, and we've seen some really good results from it. And this is obviously the next step in the strategic growth area plan. So I want to go through this, and it'll become clear to you. You probably already have this in your packet, but it'll become clear to you as we go through it. We have a committee that's made up of we call it.
Perfect. Thank you.
You are wonderful.
Okay, that's better. This is a group of people. This is a group of people that we assigned to actually look at strategic growth area issues within the strategic growth area 4, which is the Pembroke strategic growth area. And this committee pulled together, and with the endorsement of the Central Business District Association Board of Directors, we're here today to express this opinion. This is, as the current conditions, as we all know, it's obvious what we have. We have a central business district that's growing, but we have other areas, sub-areas of the strategic growth plan that are not exactly growing. And if we don't step up and actually address it like you have within the core district, we're going to get more of what's out there right now, basically. Here's a picture of what's the urbanization plan that's in the urban master plan that's in the strategic growth area 4, and it's broken up into 4 areas. You have a core area, you've got a central area here, and you've got the western campus area, and we have the southern district. So there's sub-districts that have they're going to act different, they're going to develop different, at different intensities, and we're going to address that, if you will. This is visions that we all have agreed to. This is part of the strategic growth plan. This is the visions of the plan built out. These are views of I guess that's a view of Virginia Beach Boulevard, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. The way it could look. So again, the plan's been approved. It's an exceptional plan. It really provides, and you saw some visualizations, some great visualizations of what it could look like. Within the plan, it actually gives you some issues that we should address right away, and it kind of goes through. It gives us a plan to work with. The plan itself is sound planning principles. It's 1,200 acres. 1,200 acres is a pretty large area. I think Burl always describes it as if you were in Norfolk, for example, and you were over about the Tide Stadium, and you were to stretch all the way over to the hospital. That's the amount of land you're talking about. 1,200 acres is a lot, and we have much of it is undeveloped. But the plan calls for efficient use of land resources, full use of urban services, compatible mixed uses, transportation opportunities, detailed human scale design, and environmental stewardship. This is the principles of the plan, if you will. So the plan develops an excellent roadmap for the city. I think it's an exceptional plan. I think it was done very well. It was vetted by the public. It was vetted by here in this leadership room, and it was adopted. So it's a good plan. Cbda has prepared an economic analysis basically to demonstrate the need and value of actually taking what we have done, which is a really what we call a macro, which is a very broad base look at what the economics of this plan could mean to the city in the long run. And what we're proposing is that a more detailed plan be initiated by council or by the Strategic Growth Area Office, if you will, to actually create a tool that's going to help the city move forward and make good decisions about infrastructure. So I just want to, can you back up, Gene? So I just want to make it real clear, this is a macro view of things. This is not intended to be drilling down right to each block. It looks at a plan that's actually going to be over a 50-year period. The projections we've done is really is 10 years. So we're trying to give you a shorter look at it, if you will. Okay, Jeannie? We believe that if the plan's implemented, that this plan will increase I'm talking about the strategic growth plan, will increase the desirability for businesses and residents. It will increase intensity and the future values of the developments within the district. It'll significantly increase the rate of absorption, and that's a really important factor because if you absorb at a very slow rate, you're going to reap benefits at a very slow rate, okay? And if you don't implement a plan, then areas that are just kind of limping along ought to continue to limp along. It will increase significant funding sources through increased property values and business values. Light rail is in the strategic growth plan, and this is a visualization of it crossing Independence Boulevard. Click. This is a significant exhibit in the plan. I want to make a statement first. This is not what we're here talking to you about is not about light rail. Light rail happens to be part of the plan. So we are addressing light rail, okay? So, but I think it's a real important factor linked to what we're suggesting here. You've noticed on this plan here, there are 4 different locations. Now, how they were selected, that was selected within the public process. I believe the analysis you're looking at have probably as many as 2, okay? 2 different stations, if you will. And that's significant because the location of the stations will also generate tremendous development opportunities. And if you only have limited stations, you have limited opportunities. So flip it, if you don't mind. And again, as it says, the current light rail proposal promotes limited transit stops. We think if a detailed fiscal impact study, and we know it, will allow you as a council to make cost-benefit analysis based on where you place these stations and how beneficial it is. The study should also allow you to determine densities and development intensity that you want around these stations, and that's going to help drive your zoning. It's going to help drive what the vision is, and it'll help drive more revenue, basically, back to the city. For example, if there are only 2 different stations planned, and you think there ought to be another one, and you want to study that to make sure that makes sense, then you can measure that very easily with a really detailed analysis. It will help you make that decision. You may want to step out and make that move today, or you might want to plan for making it in the future when development is there. The projection assumptions, this group of people that looked at this these are very knowledgeable real estate practitioners, developers, attorneys, etc. And we applied basic, really sound real estate principles to what we've done here. And these people are all very familiar with this particular area of the city, okay? So what does the analysis project? It projects developable land within the strategic growth area. How did we do that? You're going to see an exhibit that's in there that I've blown up for you and I can pass around, but it really is, it's a block by block analysis. And you're going to see that, and it's in the study. This group independently and dependently went through and looked at each block and colored in areas that we believe will be substantially there 20 years from now. The obvious example would be, say, the Amata Hoffa building. That's not likely to be redeveloped, you follow me? But there are a lot of parking lots and a lot of low use of land that's out there that definitely has the potential to redevelop. So through the process of elimination, yes, sir.
Where's that document in here or not?
I can pass this around. Yes, it's in, it should be in there, yes. But I can pass this around.
No, it's in the other, it's in our other documents.
It's not in there? Oh, I'm sorry. They only pass this around.
It's in mine.
Well, it is, but it's a smaller version.
Yeah, it's a smaller version. It's in there.
It's a smaller version. It's called Urban Block Patterns.
We blew it up. We blew it up so that it would be easier to see. Okay.
It's in our working documents.
We projected, well, let me tell you the methodology first. Let me tell you the methodology. I don't want to get too off into the weeds, but through this document, we were able to, Burrell's firm went through and measured the block, each one of those blocks, and provided a detailed spreadsheet, which is in the actual study. I will be happy to pass that out. That breaks down block by block how many acres were in each one of those individual little blocks. And so as you could go through there and through the process of elimination, you could end up with, you know, how many blocks do you have? How much acreage is potential to be redeveloped? We did this as a committee, individually, and then we came back and discounted it another 20%. So we really wanted to just get it down to be a very conservative amount. From that, we applied different development of intensities per acre to each one of those. And for example, the central business district, you could test it out by seeing how many square footage of mixed use is in the Amata Hoffa building. I'm going to pick on Amata Hoffler. Or you could pick on the new building they're developing, or look at any other developments out there, and you get a pattern as to how many acres, how many square foot you can get per acre within these districts. So within this, the core district is obviously far more intense than the western district. You follow me? So we applied different standards based on that. The projections are limited. They're not comprehensive. They only project the new development only. We're only projecting real estate values so that a fiscal impact study would include all other revenues that could possibly be generated. We just wanted to give a piece of the pie in front of you so that you understood, from our point of view, what we think the benefits to the city would be by actually employing a more detailed study. Okay. So, that's what I just said, I'm sorry. So these are the four districts. Central business, the western district, and the western campus district. Did I get that right? No, the central village district. Yeah, central village district, which is this middle area, the western campus, and then the southern corporate. Okay? Again, there's some acronyms for that, if you will. Here's the plan that you have that we just passed around. Again, I want to point this out, that in the other strategic growth plans that we've did in the city that have been done, there's been a calculation, if you will, for the amount of acreages and the amount of intensity and type of development ought to be done within those plans, but not to the detail that Burl Saunders' firm did. But you do have it. You have how much square footage is projected, say, in the Lynn plan that was done for retail use, how much is projected for office use, et cetera, et cetera. And these same types of principles could be applied within each one of the strategic growth areas. Again, having an economic view of what what this is worth and what the others are worth is a valuable tool, we think. So, again, what was projected in the plan is 830 acres. You had 384 acres that are in the central business district, central village of 246, so on and so forth, 830 acres. The smallest is the central corporate district. What we estimated as a business community is that there's about 185 of the 384 is developable, and that's a discounted acreage. That's a discounted acreage from what we actually saw. So out of the 830, about half of it is what this projection represents. So it's a conservative representation, we think. Jeannie? Projected land use, the top part of it is what we've projected. Within the central business district, we've projected 8.4 million square feet of non-residential space and about 5,632 housing units over the life of the build-out of the SGA. If you total it all out, we're about 13.7 million for the whole study as far as what we see, and about 10,800 housing units of all types, multifamily, both rental and for sale. The red at the bottom is what the study shows. The study that the SGA 4 study says there's 16 million square feet. We projected 13 million. So we're about a 15% less projection here. So our numbers represent about 15% less than the actual study. Okay? The same thing with the housing units. We're about 20% less there. So there's room, there's upside, if you will, from that point of view. Okay? Absorption rates, you've got year 1, year 10, and cumulative. So in the non-residential, we believe the absorption rate right out the block, and most of it is occurring right within the central business district, not in the other 3 areas. It's about 210,000 square feet of non-residential space, that's office, retail, et cetera, for year 1. And as things absorb up and all the other areas start to kick in, by year 10, we think the absorption that'll be occurring within the district is about 385,000 square feet. Accumulation over the 10-year period is about 3.5 million square feet. Okay? The same thing with the housing units, 270 units. You got 269 under construction right now. Okay, that's in the core. 269 is under construction right now. There's more capacity. Year 1, year 10, we think the absorption per year will be about 347, say 350. So over a 10-year period, you got a cumulative of about 3,200 units. Interesting, I think, is what you need to be bracing yourself for is that if this whole area develops as it should, you may have 115, 125,000 people living and working in that district, shopping, everything occurring. So that's a lot of activity. Our projected real estate values for year 1, you can see there's very little new real estate projected within the central village or the western campus district. Most of it's happening central business district based on the absorption. And we did this on a year-by-year projection, and we'll hand out, if you like a copy of our study, we'll hand that out to you. So the first year it's about 126 million. And we've got some growth happening in the southern corporate district. But at year 10, you're annually seeing about $1.7 billion of new real estate taxes, new real estate value, excuse me. Real estate taxes and all we have done here is we've said, okay, what's the potential for real estate values and how will it occur over a 10-year period? And what's the potential for real estate revenue from those? Just strictly real estate revenue. We're isolating that only. And if you have this revenue source, which based on current tax rates, it's about cumulative of about $88 million over a 10-year period, we have simply said within that, part of that revenue ought to be dedicated and monetized for public infrastructure. And how you do it, how it's done and whatever programs you come up with, we'd like to participate and help with that, but that's strictly the city's call. We're just simply putting the obvious out there. If you have this revenue stream of new development, if we spend the money that we should be spending on infrastructure, like you're doing right now, if we continue with it, we continue to implement this plan, then there's the potential to generate this type of revenue. And we've simply monetized 40% of it, and 40% represent about $320 million cumulative over that 10-year period that would go into roads and sidewalks, drainage, parking, whatever is deemed appropriate from the leadership. This is the point we want to make. We just want to get that picture in front of you. We think it's worthwhile that that a more detailed study be commissioned to actually get into the weeds on this so that you have a planning tool going forward. Jeannie? So what we're suggesting here, this is what our next step is, that an RFP be developed for a fiscal impact study, that it be controlled by the Strategic Growth Office, that it be formatted and be interactive so the Strategic Growth Office can make changes to it as time goes along. The projection should be such that it's provided to the Strategic Growth Office so they can actually make those changes. Central Business District would like to offer our volunteers as far as a group to help provide market input as years go along, making suggestions as to what we think rents ought to be or being charged, what values are being paid, what we think about vacancy, occupancy, things like that. We can be a market component to this study. So, again, here's what you got. This is what's out there right now. This is what the vision is. Flip back to that, Jeannie. Can you flip back? What you got? This is the vision. How we're going to get there. Okay? And then again, we got questions and answers. So that's our presentation.
Ron, we thank you very much for y'all taking the time to put that together and sharing it with us. I do have some questions. Bill?
Well, I have a couple, and I'm just trying to understand it all, because it's kind of a lot right now. We say here that we're significantly increasing the rate of absorption of both non-residential and residential spaces, and we're talking, between 13 and 16,000 square foot of non-residential, roughly 10 to 13,000 units of residential. What's the population growth you're looking at the significant absorption being based on?
What's the population growth?
Yeah, because if you look at, if you look at what the population growth is for the next 10 years for, Virginia Beach as a whole, what I've seen, this is probably about, I'd say 100 times that, just to hit the absorption of what we're looking at for 10 years here.
Well, we looked at, I think we looked at something along the lines of your question, and I'll see if I can address it to you. If you look at and it's in the study that we will hand out to you.
If I can get a copy of that,
Yeah.
maybe I read the
And
study
I
out
realize
there.
it's a lot of information, and no question about it. But if you look at, we've shown a pattern. We've shown how many permits have been issued within the city, and historically how many multifamily permits have been issued as well. And we looked at this as a percentage of the total absorption that's occurring. And right now, in the high point of the market, before the recession, if you will, we had as much as almost over 1,800 multifamily units occurring within the city, and then it dropped down considerably. And it looks like to us it's trending to about 800 a year. And we're suggesting that we will capture probably, because you're running out of land in the city, we think we're going to capture 300 or so. 270 is not a problem to capture within 800 at this point, because this is where you have developable land. And Bill, what makes it happen is the proper infrastructure. If you didn't have the proper infrastructure in town center, you wouldn't be getting that absorption right now. So that's what we think.
Okay, and then in here it says single family, and I looked at your plan, I'm not sure, and again, maybe it's a different district, or I just didn't really see where single family fit in on this, or there's like two others.
Where
So
do you
is
see
that-
single family?
This slide right here, what does this analysis project? Development of land area within the SGA, build out commercial, single-family, and multifamily.
Is that square foot? Square
Oh,
footage.
that's square foot,
Square
okay.
footage, yes.
Got it, so it's
No,
not
no
single
single
family.
family, no single family.
So commercial square footage and multifamily units. All right. I guess I didn't have clarity on your.
Hey, I do it all the
acronyms.
time.
Okay, and this seems like a lot of growth. And you're saying that we would have basically 125 to 175,000 people living and working there.
At total build out.
Yeah, is that 10 years? Or
Oh,
50
that'd probably be
years?
50 years.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Got it? Bill, you done?
yep, that's
Okay,
it.
John?
Just
Just a
better
couple
understand.
observations. Also have been participating through the staff on the public hearing and redefine this district. I believe the school property, if you show that graphic, I think that's where you might want to, I think now that the thought process is that all the school property will be in the waterfront district. It won't be bifurcated between the two districts, if I remember correctly.
That's right.
The school has every intention of utilizing all their property, so I do think, and for security reasons, it really certainly won't be more closer than 35 feet to the street. That's generally a blast zone we even use with federal buildings, so I'm sure we wouldn't want our public students 10 feet from the highway, given public safety standards. But also, I don't think that arterial network will work for security reasons in the school center, so I really do think you'll have to rethink that end. I don't think it takes distract from your plan of the material way, but I think it will cause you to have to re-represent the school property in your plan. But that's just an observation.
Maybe I could say this too, because when we did this on a broad basis, the idea was not to gore anybody's ox at this point. The idea was to say generally, so it's fluid.
Oh, I do. It's not pejoratively any comment on the analysis you've done. It's just so that when people see it, a lot of people in the city that went to Prince Anne High School, myself being one, and it's just, they might draw the wrong conclusion about what's really represented there when it's not the intent of the plan. And you've done a great job showing that you're not encroaching on the traditional neighborhoods that surround the district. And
That's
that's a
out,
plus, and I applaud you for that. But on the idea of the stops, as you increase the number of stops, that really does work well when you're trying to move people within the district, but it also detracts from people who want to move during because it reduces the average speed, which is 17 miles in the link within Norfolk, which reduces the ability of it to serve commuter traffic. So I think that's just something will be a trade-off between moving commuters versus moving people that don't want to own cars. And getting to Bill's point about population, I do know you can have stable population and still have increased need for residences because of household formation is a distinct issue from property. But I do know we're showing aging population here staying in place, and which is BDC's already seen, people not moving out and retiring in place. And I've heard Ms. Emily talk about that. Less people are choosing to go to retirement places at different demographic groups and still retiring in place. I don't know that the trend that you've seen with household formation is linear, so you might want to look at some other communities to see if in fact your linear analysis really holds for the population growth mix that Virginia Beach is projecting to have. I'm not saying it's not, but obviously you're out there to make money, so you should know better than I, but there is a possibility that maybe it's overly optimistic even with what you think is conservative statements in light of recent trends in the marketplace. And I would like to see the report, and I might have some other questions after that. But I do appreciate taking the time, and I look forward to
Again,
going through it.
this is an opinion from the business community, and it's an opinion to say to us, to the city, we need to, the next step is really to have for you to have the benefit of a planning tool. For example, if a project's coming in here or there, and you can then have strategic growth office with a planning tool like that, determine what the benefits are, what the potential development that you thought would occur around it. They may make a difference in how you size the size of a part of your infrastructure. Parking deck would be a good example. For example, you might want to add a few more spaces to accommodate the potential growth that you think is going to occur within this area.
Well, I do believe infrastructure is a competitive advantage for creating jobs. That is definitely true.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Oh, one other thing, and I'll quit. And Burl, Burl might have 10 things to say too. But we did approach Oldham University, and we met with Gil Yoakum, who's head of the School of Business, and Dr. Cook. He was very interested in somehow being involved to participate in this study going forward as it develops. I don't think they want to be involved with participating in the any kind of RFP that goes out, but they may be a good source to draw on to actually substantiate what's been done and also help you in the future going forward. So I just want to mention that. They'd like to participate. Burl?
Well, if I could have my nickel back just for a second, because I wasn't going to comment on that directly here, but since you brought it up, I really think on some of these things where we go out to commercial firms for RFP, I know in the Procurement Act, we can go directly to universities, and there are other public institutions, and I think we got to look at some consortium that develops our own talent and graduate students and uses our expertise. I don't know that maybe ODU by itself couldn't go alone, but a combination of Virginia Tech's Urban Studies Department and ODU's, and maybe you get a consortium of colleges might not be willing to do this. And not only do we get the benefit of our public dollar, we don't have to go through all that RFP process, but also a great learning opportunity for maybe future employees or our students. And I think we could get an equally good product as we could by going out to a commercial firm. And sometimes, we don't look at that resource enough. It's just a thought, food for thought, Mr. Manager.
That's exactly why we did it. I'm thinking exactly the way you are. Burl?
Burl?
The only thing I would say is two things. Mr. Moss, going back to your point about housing. Housing choices are changing significantly nationally and in all age groups, actually. We always thought it was the older people and the younger, but it's all in the middle. And one of the things that came out of this study was the need for diversity in housing types in Virginia Beach. And the SGAs actually offer that opportunity, especially as people start to seek to live and work and actually shop and not be totally 100% car dependent. It's happening all over. The second thing is that we have found in the communities that we're working in that have really good underpinnings of business economic plans and studies that really talk to the dollars involved as they start to make decisions on infrastructure, that they have a faster absorption rate and growth of building a quality community because they're actually building it around the economics that makes sense to that community. And every community has a little different version of this. But right now, we're just doing, a lot of the decision-making is relatively subjective. A lot of it's good gut feelings, but it's still subjective. And if we could have really a strong economic model that then when we're all talking about this as a community, we really have a basis for the decisions that we're making to really take this field of asphalt, and a lot of it is empty buildings, and turn it into a gold mine for Virginia Beach and as a place for the citizens of Virginia Beach.
Glenn?
Quick question, since we're on population, or not really a question, maybe just something as we move forward with additional studies. All the studies that we have seen with regards to what we need in Virginia Beach from a housing diversification has centered around we need more urban living, we need more of that multifamily, whether it's because of more young professionals who be moving here or are projected to be moving here in the future, whether it's people getting married at a later point in their life or waiting to have kids at a later point in their life. So we're seeing that trend, and obviously I guess that's what you're seeing as well, is that need. At the same time, we're seeing this study showing that, like Mr. Moss has said, not a whole bunch of population growth. So it almost seems where the population that typically may have a single family now in the future, next 10, 20 years, will be more of that urban, multifamily opportunities, what they're looking for. That being the case, when the next set of studies come around, if maybe there's some way to identify what happens to those single-family areas if that demand for the single-family opportunities are going to decrease significantly.
Well, they're changing, but you hit on an interesting point, but I'll turn it around. The competitive cities in the country that are seeing growth are addressing placemaking, and they're actually, that's why, you're seeing Denver, for instance. It offers that lifestyle, and people, the brain trust that's leaving here is relocating to these places because it's an environment that actually embraces, that whole lifestyle. And so one of the things we got to think about is who do we want to keep here and attract here? And we really believe, I think a lot of us, that to really make an environment that attracts the types of businesses and the incubation of new businesses is going to be largely dependent on having a progressive, innovative future city. And usually those are cities that have multimodal transportation systems. They offer lots of different diversity in lifestyle. So,
And one other thing, and we'll conclude, and that is, I think speaking to Glenn, what you've mentioned there is that I think we have I think in terms of housing cycles, I mean, a household type cycle where, the young are moving into the central business areas, these type of urban areas. I think seniors have an opportunity to move in there. I think as you get families, you move out into the suburbs. As that matures, there's opportunity to come back into a more densified situation if that's what you want to do. But I think, as far as seniors are concerned, we have a lot of senior communities that are affordable housing, which is price-driven, if you will. But seniors typically want to be where there's a lot of activity and good lifestyle, and they want a lot of different housing. They have a lot of housing choices, and I think that's what this opportunity offers you. It allows that housing cycle to actually work. I think it'll work better for our city. I mean, we've got great neighborhoods, and the whole purpose of the strategic growth area is to protect the neighborhood. The neighborhood is paramount to the comprehensive plan. It's paramount. That's the word. And this is an opportunity to grow.
Very good. We certainly do thank you, Ron and Jeannie and Burl, for coming over. And
I left Ruth with our working documents, much more detailed analysis. And I just also might want to mention that we really looked at some of the other SGAs just in a very broad sense. And this really can be used as a matrix for other SGAs around the city as well. So you might want to keep that in mind.
very good. Well, we thank you all very much.